Welcome into TD Place this beautiful Saturday afternoon here in the nation's capital of Canada as the Indy 11 coming to town to face off against Ottawa Fury FC. A big rivalry match, you can call it, for these two teams. Gord Smith alongside myself, Tyler McDonald, and just 1 point separating these two teams right now in the USL Eastern Conference. Massive game, isn't it, Gord?
It really is. I mean, the winner of this game vaults up into 5th place, whether it's Ottawa going from 8 or Indy going from 6. So it is a massive game. We've been talking about it all week. I'm sure the players are going to have to get out here and put on a performance to pick up these very, very important 3 points.
Our players to watch for Indy 11, it's going to be the captain, Brad Ring. Really has to be crucial today for Indy 11.
Yeah, sitting in central midfield. He'll be trying to pull the strings for the lads both in front of him and behind him. Very, very crucial. The Ottawa Fury shut him down here this afternoon.
For Ottawa Fury FC, a player looking to shut him down is new arrival, getting his first minutes here as a Fury FC member. It's David Edgar.
Bags of experience, international experience, English experience. He's sitting in here this afternoon. Nana Takora has dropped out, and David Edgar will be taking a spot. He will be tasked with keeping the momentum of this very, very stodgy back four this season for the Ottawa Fury today.
The Canadian international making his debut here at TD Place. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Gord Smith will be alongside Graham Ivory on the call of today's match. This is Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
Did you know the Brick is 100% proudly Canadian? We employ over 5,000 Canadians, and nobody knows more about furnishing Canadian homes at the guaranteed lowest price than us. Saving you more. It's not just a slogan. Saving you more is our obsession.
Gabriel Pizza, proud supporter of local sports. Gabriel Pizza, home of the bigger, better pizza. 310-7777 or GabrielPizza.com.
What do you live for? Is it for your crew? For overcoming obstacles? Live for what you want. So what do you live for?
Hey, Impreza. What's new?
Well, I've got this available reverse automatic braking feature.
Oh.
When I reverse, I can automatically brake if I'm about to hit something.
All I do is beep.
Subaru
Beep.
Impreza.
Beep. Ouch.
Welcome back inside TD Place as we're set to get underway in this USL contest between Ottawa Fury FC and Indy 11. Graham Ivory, Gordon Smith along with you. Tyler McDonald will be joining us pitchside throughout the course of today's match. And Gord, this is a massive match for both teams in terms of the playoff race, not just to get into the USL postseason, but a great opportunity for these two sides to put themselves on the cusp of being in that top four and earning home playoff advantage in that opening round.
Well, the bottom line is a win this afternoon for either of these two teams puts them into 5th place. And for an Ottawa team that struggled at the start of the season, Graham, if you're able to look before tonight's games kick off at 7 o'clock and see the Ottawa Fury sitting in 5th spot, that is a massive and a tremendous achievement to come back from such which was, we all know, a poor start.
Both sides coming off massive midweek victories. Fury FC winning 2-0 here at TD Place. And Indy 11 squeaked out a stoppage time winner to go 3-2 over North Carolina FC. As we have a look at our starting 11 for both sides, brought to you by Gabriel Pizza, Ottawa's bigger, better pizza. Starting with the visiting Indy 11 in goal, it's the Welshman Owain Fawn Williams gets the start. Iose, Rainier Ferreira, Carlisle Mitchell, Carl Ouimet, the Canadian across the back four, Zach Steinberger, the holding midfielder, Elliot Collier, Seth Moses, Juan Guerra, Brad Ring in the midfield, Suni Sad up top for Indy 11 as we have a look at a bit of a different starting 11 for Ottawa Fury FC. Some new names that you'll see in there. The Canadian international David Edgar makes his Fury FC debut in the back four. That includes Thomas Meyer-Giguère, Onwo Obasi, and Daniel Kanumbe. Maxime Crépeau in goal. Tied for the league in shutouts with 11, 3 off the club record of 14 set by Romuald Pézère, Jeremy Gagnon-Laparé, Christian Portilla, Jamar Dixon across the midfield, Carl Hauer, Tony Taylor, and Phil de Santos across the top three for Ottawa Fury FC, Gord. And of course, Tony Taylor scored a clutch goal. It made it 2-0 in that match Wednesday night. Carl Hauer scored the opener. So good to see both those players going offensively for Ottawa. And they'll need that offensive output from their front three here this afternoon against an Indy 11 side that, well, defensively conceded just 2 fewer goals than Ottawa. They've conceded 27 through their 22 matches this season. 30 goals for Indy, 24 for Ottawa, 29 against over the course of those 24 games now for Ottawa Fury FC.
Well, we're just having a quick look at how the Fury are setting up here, and right off the top it looks like both Taylor and de Santos are playing as 2 centre strikers right down the middle of the park. Ottawa may be setting up in a 4-4-2, Graham, here this afternoon, possibly to counter the same 4 that in midfield, possibly 5 with a holding that Indy 11 are bringing against them here today.
The officials for today's match, Yusri Rudolph is in the center. Lice Arfa and Peter Penley are the linesmen today. Miriam Marcotte is the 4th official here this afternoon. Coaching staff for Indy 11 includes Martin Rennie, familiar name who coached with, well, what once was the Carolina Railhawks before he made the move to the Vancouver Whitecaps. And of course, a very familiar name also on the bench for Indy 11, and assistant coach Phil de Santos, who spent the first 2 seasons in Fury's club history here in the nation's capital.
Yeah, and it was a very successful period for him. The first year, obviously, an expansion team, Graham. The second year, all the way to the Soccer Bowl. And at that point, both Philip and Mark decided to move on. And I believe we do have a bit of a interview with Philip at half-time coming up, so that'll be great to hear his thoughts.
Tyler McDonald spoke with Phil de Santos prior to today's match, and that interview will run during our halftime today. And we'll also be joined in the start of the second half by Stuart McTaggart, a longtime Fury FC supporter and media contributor to the club. He and his wife are making the move over to Scotland for the next couple of years, so we'll be joined by Stuart to start the second half and have a chat about well, his 5 seasons here supporting and covering Ottawa Fury FC.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I am extremely jealous because he's moving to Glasgow. He will have an opportunity to watch the revolution that's taking place in Glasgow under Stephen Gerrard at Glasgow Rangers, so he's a good Rangers man, and hopefully he'll get a chance to get out to Ibrox and support the lads at some point down the road. But it's all about the Ottawa Fury and the Indy 11 here this afternoon, and I think it's crucial with so many changes, Graham, here in the starting lineup for the Ottawa Fury, that they try to get settled as quickly as possible. If you can get beyond that first 50 minutes, and I know that's usually the tactic on the road to try and take the home team fans out of it, but I think Ottawa just needs to make sure they settle down themselves, Graham, inside these first 15 minutes.
Maxime Crépeau comes charging off his line to intercept that cross, quickly outplays it. Foul called there as Jeremy Gagnon-Laparé was clipped from behind, so they'll reset inside their own half. And you can have a look at kind of how Ottawa's lining up. And Thomas Meyer-Giguère is actually kind of playing right of center with David Edgar left of center. Yeah. Daniel Kanumbe in that right back role, usually occupied by Eddie Edward. And you know, we've talked a lot about him and just the effort level you see from him on a nightly basis. And actually, I'm going to be made a complete liar out of because they're shifting around on us, really making changes. So Kanumbe's actually settled more in a left back role. Obasi and Edgar kind of more the center backs, and Meyer-Giguère typically playing as a left center back, now out on the right side.
Yeah, it's almost like a 3-5-2 setup now for the Fury, isn't it? As you'd mentioned, Obasi cutting inside, Edgar dead centre, and of course Meyer Giguère over on that right-hand side. You've got 2 wing-backs, Kanumbi on this side. It looks like Carroll's playing wing-back on the other side, and you've got 3 in the middle. Certainly Portilla the holding and 2 attacking. So a very different formation we've seen here this afternoon by the Ottawa Fury. We have talked, Graham, over the course of the last month or so. I'll just let this finish out before we can get to that point.
De Santos plays it back to Jamar Dixon, goes back inside his own half to Thomas Meyer Giguère.
We have talked about the need, Graham, to rest some of these players. Well, Edwards out, Atakora's out, not even in the 18 here this afternoon, and it's a situation where, you know, some of the fans might be looking at it and saying, well, hold on a second, you know, these are some of your better players, but these players have been through the ringer over the last month or two, Graham, and they really need to get some time to rest and recover.
Well, and it is a big month, Gord, because they played midweek in that 2-0 victory over the Richmond Kickers again this afternoon. Wednesday they head to Bethlehem to take on the Steel at Goodman Stadium. That one goes at 5 o'clock on Wednesday evening. Back home next Saturday night to take on Penn FC, and then a pretty lengthy road trip begins with stops in New York, Toronto, Richmond, Louisville, and then again in Toronto to close out. Well, pretty much take you to the end of September. That's the 26th. So that's a long road run for Ottawa Fury FC, and thus stressing the importance to make sure, you know, guys are getting the rest when they can afford them that time. Yeah. And we talked about it in Wednesday's broadcast. Adding David Edgar into the lineup, you look at that resume, the experience that he has, the skill set that he brings, and of course the depth now to that back line. When would they find time to get him in, get him those reps, get him comfortable with his teammates? You can only gain so much comfort in training, but you need that match play, and we'll see how he performs here this afternoon. Let's head down pit side and hear from Tyler McDonald. Tyler?
Well, thank you very much, Graham. I'll send it back to you in 11 with a chance here. Out for I believe it's going to be a goal kick here for Ottawa. Anyways, there's a little flurry there from Indy 11, but an early note here coming from Ottawa Fury FC, and only 6.5 minutes into his Fury FC debut, you can tell already the veteran experience of David Edgar down there in the back three, what it is right now. Very vocal, directing traffic in the midfield, and with Obasi and Meyer Giguère as well, making sure he has everyone where he wants to be, really talking to Dixon and Kanumbi so far in the first 6 minutes. You can tell this is a buy for Ottawa Fury FC, a signing that is going to have direct impact on the pitch in terms of where everyone will be positioning and making sure that passes are direct and no one gets caught off guard. Back to you guys.
Appreciate it, Tyler. Carl Howard now streaking forward for Ottawa. Some fancy footwork there. He's stopped up at the top of the 18, and now Indy able just to clear it back out to the midfield. Header from Edgar. Looking for a foul as Elliot Collier bumps him going up for the header. Collier, just his second match with Indy 11 after joining their club on loan from the Chicago Fire.
I think one thing that we'll have to keep an eye on, Graham, it will be important to watch Thomas Obasi here in this left back position of a wide three. His natural tendency obviously is to play along the touchline in that natural left back position, so we'll have to make sure that the combination between Obasi and Kanumbi, there is good communication. Obviously Kanumbi's only been here for a couple of weeks. We just need to make sure that Obasi's not getting stretched out wide and creating that channel, a really big gap between Edgar and Obasi down this left channel for the Ottawa Fury.
Brad Ring plays it down the line as Indy 11 look to get something going here with Suni Saad. Marked closely by Christian Portilla. Indy 11 still in possession. Work back to the Canadian, Carl Ouimet. Opportunity for Moses, trying to get round Obasi. Able to keep it in play, but that's intercepted by Gagnon Laparé, and he has room to work down the left side for Ottawa. Cuts it back for Portilla. Inside Ottawa's half, plays that one over the top. I thought that was a well-timed run by Tony Taylor, but the offside flag is up from the far touchline. That must have been a close one. Yeah, just breaking a hair too early. Well played by Carl Ouimet to hold that defensive line.
The other thing that we've got to just keep an eye on for the Ottawa Fury is in central midfield. You're missing that flair, you're missing that bit of creativity that you've lost from Oliveira now dropping to the bench. So you're relying on Dixon and Gagnon Laperret to do the creating in central midfield, to get the ball to the two big lads up front, de Santos and obviously Tony Taylor, who has been on a pretty steady good run here in the last few weeks, Graham.
Seth Moses delivers this one in, up for the header. I don't know if that was a clash of heads. Meyer Giguère remains down. Two Indy players also down in the box. And immediately, Yusri Rudolph signaling for both trainers to come onto the pitch.
Yeah, it looked like Meyer Giguère, just before the ball actually made it into the three of them there, he looked to take a bit of a knock beforehand. And I don't know if he's out, because he's back up on his feet now, which is good to see. But it looked fairly serious when he was lying there motionless, not really giving any indication one way or the other, Graham. But nice to see everybody back up on their feet, and fingers crossed we're all ready to go. Yeah,
it was Suni Saad, the other Indy 11 player that collided with Meyer Giguère, and he's speaking with their trainer now.
Well, Suni Saad, obviously one of the players to watch for the Indy 11. He comes in here as, I believe it's 42 shots on goal to lead the team, Graham, so he obviously knows where the goal is. I was looking at the stats from that game midweek, the 3-2 game, and I believe there was something like, and again I could be off on some of my figures here, but I think the actual shots, not necessarily on target, was something like 24-16 or 24-15. An incredible amount of goalmouth incidents with regards to the shots at net, but it's all that counts is the ones that go in the back of the net. And Ben Spies scored an absolute cracker, the second goal, I believe, for Indy 11 on Wednesday, that looked to have given them an easy ride for the rest of the game, but they conceded 2 goals to North Carolina. Full credit to that squad for coming back, but that last minute winner, as you'd mentioned, Graham, to get 3 very, very valuable points and maintain their spot above the Ottawa Fury and the New York Red Bulls in a playoff spot right now. Indy 11, 10 wins, 7 losses, 5 ties, as you mentioned, goal difference of +3, 35 points. They come in here 7 points out of their last 15, Graham. The Ottawa Fury the exact same, 7 points out of their last 5 games as well. 10 wins, 10 losses and 4 ties, so pretty much at the 500 mark with regards to how they've been playing after that, as we mentioned, very, very slow start to the season.
And it was Juan Guerra, the former New York Cosmos player, who scored the match winner on Wednesday in stoppage time for Indy 11.
And of course the New York Cosmos have a connection with both of these teams, Graham, obviously from a negative standpoint, but it was the Cosmos that defeated the Ottawa Fury in the Soccer Bowl in 2015, and it was the Indy 11 losing the Soccer Bowl to the New York Cosmos as well in 2016. So everybody hates the Cosmos. I think that's basically what I'm trying to get at. Whether they're still playing or not, we still hate them.
Well, and there's a couple other former Cosmo players in the lineup today for Indy 11, including Ioze, the left back, as Stephen de Santos gets possession inside the penalty area, tries to lay it off to Gagnon Laperret. That one intercepted, and now Indy 11 away. It's Steinberger with pace, still going, tried to tuck it out to the right side. But that was intercepted by Obasi, and now he's going back the other way for Ottawa. Finds Kanumbe, back to Obasi. Obasi gets the touch. He's bumped down on the lip of the penalty area. No call made despite protests from the Ottawa bench. Play carries on.
And that's good cover there by Gagnon Laperret. He saw that Obasi had made a run from that back three. Gagnon Laperret, realising that there was a gap down this side for the Ottawa Fury, just dropped back in there, allowed the big man to continue his run up front. Good defensive play. I think it is going to be key for those middle three to keep their shape here this afternoon, Graham. It's a different system for them. It's new. They've probably been working on it in practice, but when you put it in a game and players are pulling you out of position, you've got to be really steady, that you know exactly where you're supposed to be.
And on that last break by Indy 11, as Steinberger was breaking forward, you could see just the fact that Elliot Collier, still new, doesn't have that chemistry, didn't really know where to move, and if anything, kind of put himself in an awkward position for Steinberger to try and find him. And that play was intercepted. Now Tony Taylor trying to make a run as it gets in beyond Carlisle Mitchell. Owain Fawn Williams, who is on loan with Indy 11 from Inverness in Scotland. But now a chance for Collier, trying to get round Meyer Giguère, gets to the goal line and has now won Indy 11 their first corner of the match here in the 15th minute.
Well, I think he made a poor decision there, Graham. He had a couple of times he could have pulled right there. He possibly could have got the ball in earlier, could have possibly even had a shot on target, but decided to take it wide, and at that point, good cover by Meyer Giguère, who obviously is fully recovered from the knock he took about 5 or 6 minutes ago.
As it's delivered in, that's blown down by Yusri Rudolph. I'll ask them to retake that as he tries to police the battle inside the 18-yard box.
But he never spoke to anyone. He never went to tell anyone, stop that, don't be doing this. It was just everybody reset and came back to the edge of the 18-yard box. Couple of zonal marking by the Fury. 6-yard box, you've got Portilla and Carroll. Everyone else is set up more in a man-to-man situation. Kanumbe's on the post. Somebody's on the post there as well.
Ioze with the delivery. That one headed away by the captain, Carl Howarth. Ioze leads this team in assists with 5. Ooh, almost dispossessed from Tony Taylor. Is a good run there, and that long ball over the top looking for Zach Steinberger, easily collected by Maxime Crépeau. Long boot forward finds Tony Taylor, who has really looked in form for Ottawa Fury for over the last little while.
That was some ball out there from the goalkeeper, wasn't it? I mean, Tony Taylor just had to take it completely in his stride, Graham. His first touch was more or less just setting up what am I going to do next. Wonderful clearance there by Crépeau, and I thought Taylor could have done a little bit better. He had Gagnon Laparé open here at the back of the 18-yard box, just unfortunately couldn't lift it above the defender, easily cut out by the Indy 11.
Battle here with Gagnon Laparé. All the way back now, Carlisle Mitchell. Ferreira. Ioze back to Ferreira. Again to Ioze. Place this one in, looking for Steinberger. That one headed away by David Edgar. Indy still pressing. Edgar again there for Ottawa to clear that one back well inside the Indy half. Fawn Williams out of his goal to give way to Carlisle Mitchell. Now to the Canadian, Carl Ouimet. Of course, Ouimet and Rainier Ferreira, both members of the San Francisco Deltas, who claimed the Soccer Bowl last season.
Well, Steinberger is really making some very nice runs there. He's trying to split the two channels between the 3 back line for the Ottawa Fury. And he just looks to get into that pocket between the two of them, and if a ball gets played up and over the top, you know, his pace is obviously going to be crucial to making sure he gets in behind the back 3, Edgar Obasi and Meyer Giguère.
De Santos, who set up Tony Taylor's 2-0 goal on Wednesday night with an impressive run down the left side. It was really all the work that De Santos did to make the goal for Taylor. He just had to slot it into the empty net, which he did quite emphatically, yes, kissing it off the underside of the crossbar, but nonetheless, it was a beautiful finish from the Panamanian.
And I think when we saw the replay of it on Wednesday, I think De Santos just collapsed in the box because he had done such a terrific run into the attacking third.
Oh, great run here by Obasi, but the offside flag is up as Taylor was about a yard in behind Brad Ring.
Yeah, and the interesting part with Ring is that holding midfielder. We see it with Portilla here with the Ottawa Fury. When you've got a back 4, Ring's just dropping right into the middle between the two of them, and it's almost like a back 5 when they are defending. So nice setup, a nice shape by the Indy 11. Ring will just take a few steps forward once they're in possession, and he'll try to get things going for the Indy 11 the other direction.
Well, Brad Ring, a day 1 guy for Indy 11, came over in 2014 from the Portland Timbers and has made quite a name for himself in Indianapolis. Carl Howarth with an interception there, knocks it into touch for an Indy throw. 20th minute here at TD Place, 0-0 between Ottawa and Indy 11. Select is the official soccer ball of the USL. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit www.selectsportamerica.com and receive free shipping on orders over $50.
Well, you take a look, Graham, at even the bench for Indy 11. We talked about the strength of the bench for the Ottawa Fury with Oliveira, Haber and Reid. A couple of other players, Manella and Minicio obviously as well. But, you know, Ben Spies and Jack McInerney, you've got a chance to bring them on in the late stages, maybe midway through the second half to really maybe change your shape a little bit, maybe change the point of attack. McInerney, the top goal scorer this season for Indy 11. It's a break now for Indy, other way. Great chance at the edge of the penalty spot, just couldn't.
Moses gets right underneath that one.
Yeah, it was a nice break. They played a nice little 1-2 down the left-hand side, and unfortunately when the ball came across, it was just stabbed at instead of. I thought maybe you could have, maybe even a diving header from there would have been spectacular. But the fact of the matter is, they're getting into the box. They're having some success down the width, and that when you're playing a back three, you are conceding that if you're not having Kanumbe and Carl Haworth working overtime to get back and do those cover spots as well.
McInerney with 6 goals, 2 assists this season for Indy 11. Ben Spies 2 goals, and of course you mentioned the spectacular finish he had. Also missing from the Indy 11 lineup today, Eugene Starikoff, another former New York Cosmo who has a pair of goals for them this season. Justin Braun, who's out with a hamstring injury, he scored 3 goals. And Tyler Pasher, a former player of Fury head coach Nikola Popovic from Swope Park Rangers last season. He's out with a head injury, and he has 1 goal so far this season. So Indy's certainly missing some key fixtures, at least in their starting 11 here this afternoon. Let's head back downstairs to pitch side and hear from Tyler McDonald.
Thank you very much, Graham. And over notes on both sides for Ottawa Fury FC, Coach Nikola Popovic really looking to get that press in form of his top, we want to call it top 2, top 4. Looking to press the back of Indy 11. Feels like he hasn't gone it just yet. In terms of the Indy 11 side of Coach Martin Rennie, looking to catch Fury FC on the counter, know that they only have 3 at the back, and trying to outnumber them with pace when they can surprise Ottawa Fury FC going the other way. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Tyler. And certainly Kanumbe down that left side. There's been some good interplay early on from he and Obasi, who's jumped up, as Ottawa really looks to press forward with numbers, as Kanumbe tried to go 1v2 and almost got beyond both Seth Moses and Carl Ouimet. Ottawa back in possession, albeit momentarily.
Yeah,
that one into touch for an Ottawa throw just in front of the Indy bench.
They had good numbers there. It was 3v1. They were swarming around the ball, and they actually won it back, and then Portilla and Obasi just kind of left it for each other, and unfortunately for Indy 11 they weren't able to take advantage of that, but the Fury now going the other way.
Obasi's header met by Tony Taylor, back to Phil de Santos, tucks it out to the left. Daniel Kanumbe gets to the goal line, delivers a low one in. That one should be out for a corner. And the whistle does go now, and the first set piece of the afternoon coming up for Ottawa Fury FC.
Lovely little play. Jinky there going to his left foot at the byline. We see Adonijah Reid do that so often during the course of the season, Graham. And Kanumbe does just the exact same thing. Shakes to go into the right, goes to the left, and just couldn't get it beyond that first defender. But dangerous set play again, right on top of the front. Look at that, there's about 16 players, Graham, in and around that front post area.
Haworth with the delivery into the near post, up for the header, it's loose! And diving on it was Fawn Williams, about 2 yards off the goal line.
A terrific ball by Carroll, whipped into that front post area. Goalkeeper can't get to it, there's just too many bodies in front of him. Finally he just drops right onto the ball, but he gets the initial touch on it, it drops inside the 6-yard box, and about 3 or 4 legs kicking away at it, just couldn't.
Unbeknownst to Phil de Santos, it kind of fell at his feet. He almost needed a back heel had he known it was there.
That's right.
But a great delivery whipped in by Carl Haworth on Ottawa's first corner of the match.
And that's a strategy we see the Fury employing so often on corner kicks, Graham. We saw it early on in the season against, I believe it was Carolina, where Portilla whipped a ball in from the right side, and it curled in left-footed into the front post area. The goalkeeper more or less just palmed it into his own goal. Same again here, you've got such a mass of bodies that the goalkeeper can't come through all these bodies in front, so he's relying on his defenders in front of him to get it cleared away. If it gets beyond that first clearance, Graham, look out, because then you've got 5, 6, 7 red and black shirts in there waiting for the slightest of touches is all that's needed. You could end up in the back of your net.
Tony Taylor brings it down. Can he turn his man? Taylor's still going, finds De Santos. First touch and a good save by Fawn Williams. And he'll be able to get to the rebound before anyone from Ottawa Fury FC can get there. Great work by Tony Taylor to bring it down and play it right to Steven De Santos, who hit it first time, forcing a good save from Owain Fawn Williams.
Well, that whole play, Graham, started from Crépeau. It was a wonderful ball right to Carl Howard's head. It was a lovely first touch down to Tony Taylor. And when Tony just held it up, had a quick look to see De Santos coming in, I don't think the big man got as much on it as he would have liked. Tried to side foot it more or less than anything else, but make the goalkeeper work. Shot on target. Nice break by the Ottawa Fury. And again, by that man, Tony Taylor, getting involved at the heart of it.
I don't know if there's a more confident player in Fury colors right now than Tony Taylor, and just a completely different player over the last couple of months for Ottawa Fury FC.
I think, you know, it's all about just getting the confidence, Graham. Not only the confidence yourself when you get out in the park, but the confidence from the coach that he's willing to put you into situations, Graham, where you can win the matches for him. And that's exactly what he's done since he's gone in. He's scored important goals, he's scored big goals, he's scored goals that have put the opposition on the back foot and made them open up a little bit. And that's exactly what you have to do as a striker. You've just got to make sure that when you're out there, if you're not scoring goals, you're working, Graham, and you're doing all the other things on the park to set up your teammates.
Well, just having a look at the USL standings coming into this afternoon, we talked at the start of the broadcast how important today's game is for either side. A victory for either team, and they can find themselves in 5th spot. FC Cincinnati leading the Eastern Conference on 48 points. They are home tonight to the Charleston Battery, who are 5 points back in 3rd on 43 points. Level on points with 2nd place Pittsburgh. 4th place is Louisville on 39. However, they've only played just 21 games. Louisville home tonight to Nashville, who is 1 point back of Ottawa for that 8th and final playoff spot.
Big weekend, isn't it?
5th is Bethlehem, who picked up a win Thursday night against Toronto FC 2. They're on 36 points, tied with Indy 11, albeit Bethlehem has played 4 more games than Indy, not including today's fixture. New York Red Bulls 2, right behind Indy in 7th on 35 points, the exact same number of points as Ottawa Fury FC, and they've played the same number of games, again not including today's match. And of course, mentioned Nashville 1 point back of Ottawa. North Carolina FC now 5 points back, and then 7 points back is the Charlotte Independents, who will visit the Pittsburgh Riverhounds tonight. So lots of scoreboard watching you can expect over really the next month and a half as we get into the final 6-7 weeks of the USL season, Gord. And every game means so much. And now that we talked about the big win by Indy Wednesday night against North Carolina, that kind of puts them behind the pace. Charlotte really desperate for points tonight in Pittsburgh, who are trying to not only secure home field playoff advantage, at least for the first round, but see if they can give FC Cincinnati a run for their money for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. And really for Ottawa and Indy, what the 3 points could do today could really solidify these sides, not just in their chase for home field playoff advantage in that first round, but to say, punch our ticket to the postseason.
Well, we talked at the post-game show on Facebook Live on Wednesday about the consistency that's needed. You know, you can pick up 3 points today, and that's great, and you find yourself bumping up to fifth spot. But then you lose your next game and you've lost another 3 points, and before you know it, you're back to 7th, you're back to 8th. Another loss puts you now down at 9th. All the other teams are in the exact same boat, Graham, and pretty much every single game now from here on in becomes a 6-pointer. You look today, Indy against Ottawa, 6v8. Cincinnati against Charleston, 1v3. Louisville against Nashville, 4v9. So you've got playoff spots chopping and changing not only in the bottom 4, but in the top 4 as well. Certainly Cincinnati, you can possibly say, are a class ahead of everyone else right now, with Pittsburgh and Charleston chasing after them. But I think overall the quality of the season has been outstanding, with different teams stepping forward, going on nice little runs. And as we said, we're seeing right now Bethlehem Steel is on one of the better runs, 4 wins and 1 loss in their last 5 games to push themselves up the table.
And that will be Ottawa's next opponent Wednesday evening at Goodman Stadium. That one a 5 o'clock kickoff. Catch all the action live on uslsoccer.com and ottawafurifc.com. Foul called against Christian Portilla on Zach Steinberger, and now Brad Ring readies to take the set piece and asking Yusri Rudolph for measurements of 10 yards. Delivers that one off, and there's a hit from distance by Suni Saad, missing high and wide of the goal.
Got to be honest, I was not expecting that at all, and we can see why. Whew. We can see why Brad Ring was asking to make sure the wall was the full 10 yards, because the intent was, I'm just going to knock it ahead and let the boy take a shot, and he put his foot right through it. It's a decent effort, a yard or so over the crossbar, and I think Crépeau in the end would have gotten to it, but certainly not worried about taking a shot from 35-40 yards from goal. Nice play by Edgar there, he had to be sure.
Maxime Crépeau out to his right. Carl Howard chests it down, hits it on the volley, looking for Tony Taylor. Takes a bounce. Taylor able to keep it in play. Marked by 2 men. His pass back for Howarth intercepted. Dixon forced to make a challenge here, and that one will go into touch for an Ottawa throw inside the Indy half. 32nd minute here at TD Place. 0-0 between Ottawa and Indy 11. The USL's official Twitter feed keeps you up to date with news, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Follow at USL on Twitter. Ottawa Bassi controls inside the Indy half, plays catch with Christian Portilla. Oh, fancy move there to leave Seth Moses in his tracks, who's now nipping at his heels. Tony Taylor outlets to Jamar Dixon, has some room. Dixon puts his head down, tries to play it in the box, in behind Stephen DeSantos, and now a chance for Indy to counter. Ioze, marked closely by the captain Carl Howard. Into the middle for Steinberger. Former player with Jacksonville Armada. We met. Plays that one over the top. Well done by Collier to try and bring that one down as he backed in to Thomas Mayer-Giguère.
It was a handball, I think. I don't know if it was the sun.
A bit of everything. He'd like to see a foul called.
I think the sun just got in his eyes. Here we see a lovely bit of trickery there by Obasi, and he's off to the races once again, getting trailed by Moses. But I think if you saw that last effort there, we see the handball there. I think he was just more or less trying to block the sun from his eyes. But the last effort there we saw about a minute or so ago with Jamar Dixon, as he broke to the edge of the 18-yard box. I think if he puts his hand up at the end of the game and say, yeah, that was supposed to be a shot, I believe that was what his intent was. He just completely fluffed it. And unfortunately for Jamar, it went into the 18-yard box where a mass of bodies were waiting for it. But it's nice to see, Dixon and Gagnon Lapare certainly trying to get forward, create that loss of Oliveira that he normally provides in that split between the midfield and the attackers. I think this formation has been all right for the Ottawa Fury, Graham. I mean, you look, a back three is tough to get used to when you haven't played it before, and when it's not a situation like you have Atakora, Mayer-Giguère and Edgar playing. 3 centre-backs that are all comfortable with that position. When you've got a player like Obasi now who's an out-and-out left full-back being asked to cover in that manner, it is a little bit different for him, and I think he's played quite well in that role here this afternoon. Certainly Portilla sitting in front of that back three is helping out as well. Kanumbe and Haworth on the wide positions, Graham, are making a bit of a difference as well.
Ball knocked into touch, throwing for Carl Howard, gets it to Tony Taylor. Brought down by Mayer-Giguère. Skies this one into the penalty area, going up was Kanumbe. That one headed away by Carl Ouimet, but right to Ono Obasi. Gagnon Lapare back to Obasi. Fancy foot skills still at work for Ottawa. Regardless of how much people try and watch the tape on Obasi, he still skins people on on a nightly basis.
He's got those legs that basically go all the way up to his shoulders, doesn't he? And when he gives it a motion, a step over or a little shimmy, it's impossible to know which way he's going to go. I think sometimes he has a tough time realising which way he's going to go, and he just wings it, and it comes off for him, and you know he looks amazing.
He goes where the ball takes him.
Basically, but you know, those that can do, and that's the important thing.
Great delivery there by Kanumbe to the back post, up for the header. Oh, what a save by Vaughan Williams as he robs Tony Taylor after Phil de Santos brings it right down to his head. And Owain Vaughan Williams gets the right hand to it to knock that one up and over the bar to rob Ottawa of the opening goal here in the 35th minute.
A terrific ball by Kanumbe, deep to the back post. De Santos rises above the two defenders. I tell you what, that's a fantastic save in any league that you're playing in around this world, Graham. That was absolutely top class. It was a decent head, De Santos, just giving a little fist bump there to the goalkeeper for the save, but Tony Taylor did everything right. He made contact with it, he was early, he was hungry, he got to the ball, and what a save by the goalkeeper to keep it scoreless.
Well, and full credit to Daniel Kanumbe for that delivery from the left side. This one whipped in by Portilla, punched away by Vaughan Williams, and out for another Ottawa corner, their third of the match.
Another good ball whipped into the ball. That's certainly going in. The goalkeeper, though, a clear path to it this time, Graham. No bodies in front of him. He's able to get it punched away. Still danger, though, for the Fury.
This one delivered in. Going up for the header was Obasi. Indy 11 resets inside their own half as they try and break forward. That one mishit, looking for Steinberger. Crapo well out of his goal. Sends this one back into the Indy half. De Santos bumping with Brad Ring. Indy 11 win possession. Now intercepted by Gagnon Laparé. Kanumbe. Well saved by Obasi after that touch got away from Kanumbe. Paints that one down the line nicely for Tony Taylor. Foot race here with Carlisle Mitchell, who will shepherd that one out for a goal kick. 37th minute here at TD Place, remains 0-0 in this fixture between Ottawa Fury FC and Indy 11. And you can watch highlights from every game of the 2018 season and stay up to date with news from across the USL at the league's official Facebook page, facebook.com/USL Soccer.
I think it's been an entertaining first half here, Graham, so far. 37th minute, both teams with chances at either ends, and you know, this new look shape to the Ottawa Fury 3-5-2. I'm not sure if it's something they will persist with over the course of the season, Graham, but bringing in a defender like Edgar does give you that option. And when you have an Atakora back, you've got Atakora, Meir Jaguar, and possibly Edgar as the three, and you allow Obasi to come out as a natural wing back on this left-hand side, I think they can really, really cause problems for teams going forward.
You could play with three center backs, which allows you more weapons in your arsenal. That one extra player to be more attack-minded. And that's what I like about today's game, is you've got two teams with so much on the line. And instead of letting this play out like a chess match and say, okay, we're going to be very cautious, we'll see who makes that first error and if we can jump on it. No, both sides certainly going for it here in the opening half, and very entertaining.
And full credit to both coaches for coming in and taking that approach. Popovic and Rennie, you know, deciding that we need the 3 points. I don't want to come in here and settle for just one. Rennie's coming in here, he set his stall up quite nicely, that he's quite willing to attack. He sees that there's possibly space down the flanks, and that might be a road to glory for them here this afternoon if they are able to get players hugging the touchline, get those full backs coming in on overlapping runs, Graham. That could be problems for the Fury here this afternoon.
Ottawa Obasi sends this one forward in behind Kanumbe, and Carl Ouimet will let that one roll out for a goal kick.
Yeah, you know, sometimes those nice balls like that, Graham, if they come off, are nice, but I'm pretty sure the Ottawa Fury would rather just keep possession right now in those areas of the park. We talked about it on Wednesday night. The possession for the entire game is only something like 32%, which for a team that bases their whole culture, so to speak, on the possession game, that was quite surprising that they allowed Richmond to come in here, a team that's sitting so far down in the standings. and gave them the opportunity to dictate the flow, the tempo, and the way the game was played.
Well, and when you're struggling to have to win the possession battle on a nightly basis that we've seen of late for Ottawa, you don't want to give it away cheaply.
No.
Right? Especially when you see what you can do in possession with the skill set you have on the pitch. As Collier brings it down, in amongst 4 Fury players, still able to maintain possession as Guerra whips it over. Now for Ioze. Back into the middle to the captain, Brad Ring. Pressure coming. We met. Plays that one forward. Saad was bodied off the ball, now has to battle with Obasi. Crapo skies this one. Now a battle between Gagnon, Laparé, and We Met. Steinberger. His header finds Stephen de Santos. He'll be unable to keep that one in play. Into touch for an Indy 11 throw just in front of the Fury bench as we tick over into the 41st minute. 0-0 this afternoon in a very entertaining match between Ottawa and Indy. 5th place in the USL Eastern Conference standings up for grab here this afternoon.
And I think in the bigger picture, a draw does neither team any good whatsoever. Yes, okay, you keep whatever run you've got as far as undefeated goes, but 1 point, for Indy, certainly for Ottawa, who would now have 25 games and played a fair number more than Nashville, North Carolina, New York Red Bulls all around them. It's imperative, I would say, that 3 points this afternoon, Graham, is all that you should be getting.
Any point away from home is good at this time of year,
Yeah.
I would think, for Indy 11. If they were told you're guaranteed a point coming into Ottawa, they would certainly take it in their push to the playoffs. And if you look at this side, 10 wins, 7 losses, 5 draws on the year. 5 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws at home, but a pretty impressive 5 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws away from home. So when you get that type of success rate away from home, that's great news. As Moses with a drive, and that one just missing. And David Edgar and Maxime Crapo infuriated after that opportunity by Indy 11 as they
when that ball
converse with Onawa Obasi.
When that ball broke across the Graham, absolutely no one came out there to close him down, and that's what Crapo's upset with. Someone's got to get out and close Moses down there. That ball kissed the post as well. It wasn't that far off, and you can see how upset Crapo was. He knows it defensively. Their structure's got to be a little bit better. You've got to have someone rushing out to close Moses down there, and unfortunately that didn't happen. That could have ended up in the back of the net.
Ring wins that header, but Portilla meets it for Ottawa, tries to play it long for one of Taylor or Kanumbe. Indy still in possession, deep inside their own half. All sorts of pressure coming here from Ottawa as they try and pass their way out of trouble. Carlisle Mitchell. Guerra. Ottawa not giving Indy much. They got to midfield and now again met with pressure, forced well back into their own half to the captain, Brad Ring.
And that's what that's what's having to happen. Carl Haworth and Kanumbe on the left-hand side, Carl on the right. They're having to drop deep so far because these fullbacks are pushing up, Graham. But what that leads to is not an awful lot of offensive thrust from Haworth on that right-hand side. We've seen Carl involved once or twice, but he's far too deep in this 3-5-2 to be able to get involved in the attack. We've seen Kanumbe a couple of times releasing a little bit early, getting to the byline and getting balls into the box, but Carl just needs to get, yeah, you've got to worry about the defensive side of your game, but you've also got to try and get involved in attack, and unfortunately he just hasn't been able to as much here in this first half. Just that ball just got allowed to run out there. A throw in for the Fury, but now Indy in possession again.
Moses in control. So we're in the 44th minute here at TD Place. The USL's official Instagram account has highlights, photography, and interactive content with the league's players. Get it all at www.instagram.com/USL Soccer. Indy 11 still trying to find a seam to try and penetrate through that midfield. just clear that one. Into touch, and now confusion where this will be taken from. Carl Ouimet to take for Indy 11 here. Expect a minute, maybe two of additional time here in the first half. David Edgar first under it for Ottawa. Kanumbe gets a touch, but already out of play when he was able to get there. Hearing that we will have just the 1 minute of additional time here in the first half. Meyer Giguère lets that one go. David Edgar gets his boot behind that one and skies it into the crowd. Ouimet. Intercepted by Obasi. Gets that one down the line looking for de Santos, who had a battle with Carlisle Mitchell. Brad Ring brings it down. Finds Steinberger. Now Moses plays this one over the top. Crapo out to challenge. And a well-timed and much-needed challenge by the Fury goalkeeper. Suni Sad was in space behind the Ottawa back line.
That's a terrific read there by Crapo, almost like a sweeper, wasn't it, Graham? Just stepped up outside the box. Got the first touch ahead of the attacker there, but nice read by the keeper.
Bassi gets under that one. Edgar does the rest of the work to Gagnon Laparé. Now Tony Taylor, and that will draw to conclusion the opening 45 minutes here at TD Place, as we'll be joined by Ottawa Fury FC head coach Nikola Popovic in just a moment down on the pitch line. And we'll now head down to hear from head coach Nikola Popovic, courtesy of Ross Video.
Hey Coach, so it's been in a very intense but almost equal battle so far. How does Fury plan on gaining that upper edge?
I think that we have to put our chances. We have a couple of them. I think we have to continue producing and creating these chances, and fortunately we will score a goal.
Awesome, and we've noticed it's a very emotional and passionate game. Do you see this as a positive thing moving into the second half?
Yes, I think so. The players are attached. They're very emotional, very focused in the game. So it's normal. It's a very difficult team. They play very well. So I think it's an even game, and I think if we take our chances in the second half, we can win this game.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And thanks very much, Bianca. And yeah, Gord, a lot of passion from both sides in this game. And given what's on the line, I think we expect nothing less.
I think it's been a thoroughly entertaining 45 minutes. Both teams with commitment. Both teams certainly committed to playing good football, to try and play attacking football. We did see chances at either end, and hopefully one of them ends up in the back of the net. Certainly if you're a Fury fan, you want it to be in a black and red boot that it's coming off. But a great first half, and hopefully more of it in the second half.
0-0 through 45 minutes here at TD Place. Coming up in our halftime, we'll hear from former Fury FC assistant coach Phil de Santos, now assistant coach with today's opposition, the Indy 11. Highlights, stats, and more when we return. This is Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
Did you know the Brick is 100% proudly Canadian? We employ over 5,000 Canadians, and nobody knows more about furnishing Canadian homes at the guaranteed lowest price than us. Saving you more. It's not just a slogan. Saving you more is our obsession.
Hey, Impreza. What's new?
Well, I've got this available reverse automatic braking feature.
Oh.
When I reverse, I can automatically brake if I'm about to hit something.
All I do is beep.
Subaru
Beep.
Impreza.
Beep. Ouch.
Gabriel Pizza, proud supporter of local sports. Gabriel Pizza, home of the bigger, better pizza. 310-7777 or GabrielPizza.com.
What do you live for? Is it for your crew? For overcoming obstacles? Live for what you want. So what do you live for?
Welcome back here to TD Place. 0-0 at halftime between Indy 11 and Ottawa Fury FC. And of course, no goals in this game. We'd like to see some in the second half, but there have been an absolute splendid amount of terrific goals so far in the USL here in Week 22. Let's take a look at some of the nominees for Goal of the Week.
Vegas struggling to hang on a possession. The ball is lofted over the top for Dakers. Cutting onto his right, will strike, and it's in! What an incredible strike from Kadeem Dakers! Cutting it off that left and doubling St. Louis's lead.
Ball into the box, Becky, unable to clear. Quick shot, and that is through, and we're tied. How about that kick to even the score at 2-2?
Biden and Brown. Brown's gonna take a shot from distance.
Okay,
and a goal!
sounds good.
What a goal from Brown!
On Sunday, Ranjitsingh had to save a late penalty kick to keep him in it. That cross looking for Lancaster falls to Illich with the bicycle kick finish to get Louisville back in the game.
It's a team that's able to be organized in the chaos, but at the same time, they're giving up.
Opiao! A stunning goal in the 68th minute. He took his time.
Well, both teams, we haven't had any goals so far in this game, but we have had a nominee for a save of the week by Williams and the Indy 11. Let's see if any teams can get on the score sheet in the second half. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our halftime show. This is Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
Cochran tonight appearing in his 71st career match with San Antonio FC. He's been with the club all 3 seasons, most consistent there on the back end.
I felt like my whole life I've always had to prove people wrong. Getting cut from the state ODP team when you're 13 because you're too small, and then in your club team you sit on the bench until you're 16 or 17 years old because you're too small. Everything kept referring back to you're too small. There's no better feeling in the world of being able to look at someone that told you no and to be able to say, I told you so. You kind of see it all when you go through times of playing, getting cut, being someone on the field, playing all the time. It kind of gives you a good grasp of where different players are and what their mentality might be. It's definitely shaped who I am. I wouldn't change anything for my career, for how it's gone. Not only have I grown as a player, I think I've grown as a man in terms of being able to deal with anything that I really think that's thrown at me. I think there's a bunch of different ways that you can be a leader. Bring my lunch pail to work every single day, and I try to get better every day. And if I have that kind of mentality and other people see me pushing, regardless of what we're doing, that's the kind of leader I want to be. This is my 3rd year here, and to be able to stay in one place and to really grow with it has been a tremendous honor, and it's something that I don't take for granted at all. Every time that I step on the field, I hope that I represent this club and this city. It's a privilege to play for such a passionate fan base. I'm Greg Cochran, defender for San Antonio FC.
Dixon Johnson! You've got to be kidding me! Oh, what a finish! Prowling Spruce! Dante the other way! Oh, what a goal! Near post! Oh, what
FC TV. Still halftime here at TD Place, 0-0 the score line here as we continue our halftime show. And earlier, before the game, I got a chance to talk to former Ottawa Fury FC assistant coach Phil de Santos, also current assistant coach of the Indy 11, all about his time in Ottawa and this season for Indy 11. Let's take a look now. Pleased to be joined by Phil de Santos, the assistant coach of Indy 11, a familiar face for Fury FC fans. Phil, it's always a pleasure having you back here in Ottawa. It's always great seeing you. Just when you come to TD Place, do any special memories pop in your head right away?
Absolutely, it's special. Like all week has been, even though we had a midweek game, it's been something that's been in my mind. I spent 3 years here roughly, and I have a son that was born here, so we have great memories, good friends. We still keep contact, so it's always a place that we like to come back, and it's a place that's clearly in my heart for sure.
A playoff push for Indy 11 is really going on there now at the end of the season. Where do you see your team finishing? What needs to get you to that extra edge and make the playoffs?
Well, I think we're in the spot where we need to be now. I think that the team went through up and downs, and you see the standings. It's every game's it's a 6-point game, so I think that right now we're gonna have a spell of 6 games in about 18 days. So this is a moment where we have a chance to accumulate points and a chance to really step up in the table and solidify that playoff spot. And not only that position, but we also want to give it a push to be in the top 4 and host a first game at home, because I think that our fans, they deserve that.
Phil, it's always a pleasure talking to you. A short amount of time, but we wish we could talk to you longer. But we hope to see you guys do well as well throughout the USL season. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Impreza. What's new?
Well, I've got this available reverse automatic braking feature.
Oh.
When I reverse, I can automatically brake if I'm about to hit something.
All I do is beep.
Subaru
Beep.
Impreza.
Beep. Ouch.
What do you live for? Is it for your crew? For overcoming obstacles? Live for what you want. So what do you live for?
Did you know the Brick is 100% proudly Canadian? We employ over 5,000 Canadians, and nobody knows more about furnishing Canadian homes at the guaranteed lowest price than us. Saving you more. It's not just a slogan. Saving you more is our obsession.
Gabriel Pizza, proud supporter of local sports. Gabriel Pizza, home of the bigger, better pizza. 310-7777 or GabrielPizza.com.
Welcome back inside TD Place as our halftime continues 0-0 through the opening 45 minutes between Ottawa and Indy 11. And before we get into that second half, Gord, let's dissect a little bit of that first half before we get into our highlights brought to you by Labatt. That was, as 0-0 goes, that was a very entertaining first half.
It really was. Both teams, obviously, as we said, going for it. There was no sitting back. Nobody, as you said, trying to steal a point on the road. And you know, Ottawa with a new formation, a couple of new players thrown in there. I thought for the first 45 minutes they were very solid, not only going forward but for most of the time in the centre of defence. And that man we just saw there, David Edgar, I think has been outstanding in the heart of the Ottawa Fury back four. We can see the experience that he brings he just knows where to be, and he's marshalling the lads around him and in front of him as well so well.
Well, and kind of one of the storylines going into this match, and I think unbeknownst to at least everyone outside of the team, was that we're going to be seeing a couple of changes with Edgar coming in, Kanumbe coming in there, both Adekor and Eddie Edward, not even in the 18 today, and then almost a bit of a different formation setup here this afternoon. But what we've seen through 45 minutes, job well done from the 11 players on the pitch. And as we saw, Owain Fawn Williams with a fantastic save on Tony Taylor, and that truly is the reason why I think we're at 0-0 at this point.
It's the difference right now. Obviously, the shot there we just had by Jones that went on the outside of the post, but irrespective of that, it's been exciting. It's been end-to-end stuff, and it's been, as you said, as far as 0-0 games go, it's been a wonderful spectacle.
And as we have a look at our first half stats brought to you by Rico, just 31% possession for Ottawa Fury FC through 45 minutes. That was a stressing point in our broadcast on Wednesday, especially when head coach Nikola Popovic said at halftime was the key to closing out a victory on that day was to have more possession in the second half. The more you have the ball, he felt the more offense that they could have, that they could produce. So far, though, I think in fairness to the 69% that you might see from Indy 11, how much of that is probably from inside their own half, because their struggle right now is at times they are having to almost go route one, play that ball over the top, looking for Steinberger, looking for Collier, looking for Suni Sad, because Ottawa has really just gummed up that central midfield, and there really isn't a path through for Indy 11, at least what we saw in that opening 45.
The only road that I can see right now for Indy 11, and as you mentioned, the back three are fairly compact with Portilla sitting in front, is out on the flanks. And if Haworth and Kanumbe are not getting back to help out the fullbacks getting into attack, Graham, that's the problem. And that's why we're not seeing Carroll so much in an attacking standpoint going forward, is that just right now he's having to worry so much about the fullback coming down his right-hand side, and that's what is sort of limiting him being able to get forward. So hopefully in the second half we'll see Carroll get involved a little bit more. It does look as if, I'm just trying to see, I can't see Tony Taylor out there. I don't know if he's possibly, it looks like Tony Taylor is actually not coming back on. He's sitting down, I believe, on the bench, and Oliveira's getting dressed there. So I'm just wondering what exactly is going on here. The change not being allowed to take place right off the kickoff, and the Ottawa Fury right now with 10 men against 11. And I just wonder, with Oliveira coming in, Graham, if that will change the shape of this Ottawa Fury, maybe back to the 4-3-3 that they've been so familiar with over the course of this season. Taylor out and Oliveira coming in, so I'm not sure what that's all about. I mean, there must have been something that Tony's picked up, Graham, from an injury standpoint, because I thought he had a very bright first half. He was involved in a lot of the attack, and he was setting up De Santos a couple of times quite nicely.
And now an opportunity for Indy to strike something here early in the second half. Suni Saad gets in to the penalty area, but that effort is not going to trouble Maxime Crépeau down to make the save. And for the start of this second half, we're happy to be joined by someone who's been a big part of Fury FC from the supporters culture that we've enjoyed here the last 5+ years, and of course covering Ottawa Fury FC online, and we've had him as part of the broadcasts on television, on the stream, on radio, and we're certainly sad that he's going to be heading on, but we wish him and his family well. And that's Stuart McTaggart off to greener pastures, I think, as Gord would say in Scotland, because he's very jealous that you're moving to Glasgow. But Stuart, we're happy to have you on for a bit here.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back on.
Ottawa Fury pressuring here. Kanumbe gets it over to Jeremy Gagnon. Laparé plays it all the way back to Onwell Bassi, and then Stuart, you've been part of this since day one. Soccer is in your blood. I know you were very excited when pro soccer was coming here to the nation's capital. So much has happened in your time as a supporter, as well as a member of the media covering this team. Just talk about some of the top memories for you. Top 2, top 3 memories that you've enjoyed or that you'll take with you.
I think number one is definitely going to the final in New York. That was a whole wild trip, especially that whole fall season. Just being able to be there is part of the whole culture of it. And there's just such a great sense of family, and you can feel that again this season. Other than that, I think I've really enjoyed going out on road trips. I've seen them in Vancouver, and that was a lot of fun supporting them in the Voyageurs Cup all the way on the West Coast.
Now, you've been involved, as Graham mentioned, pretty much since day one. Have you noticed, that the supporter culture, the fan culture, Stuart, that obviously we're trying to grow. We're trying to grow the supporters clubs, getting them bigger. Have you noticed a bit of a change in the actual fan experience over the course of how it started back at the old Carleton University days to where you're now set up your own supporter section directly behind the goal? Is there more of a sense of community, more of a sense of purpose now in the supporters clubs now that you do have pretty much your entire section out all to yourself?
Yeah, I think in the first couple of years, there was a little bit of teething as people were trying to figure out exactly how our culture was going to happen, because you kind of want it to happen organically. And I think that's happened now, especially with us in behind the net. Both supporters groups are united, and there's a lot of passion, especially in some of the diehard fans that make it out every game.
Throw in here from Ottawa Obasi, flicked on by Stephen de Santos, brought down now by Brad Ring, but intercepted by Jamar Dixon in the midfield, who outlets to the captain, Carl Howarth. Plays it out wide for Kevin Oliveira. Oliveira tries to turn off pressure. That one knocked into touch for an Ottawa throw, despite the protests from Ioze.
Well, we're still seeing the back three here, Graham. That hasn't changed at all for the Fury, and Portilla just sitting in front of him. So it almost looks like it's a 3-1-4-2 formation. It's very fluid for the Ottawa Fury. I think Oliveira coming in, he's more of an attacking midfielder, and it looks like he's playing out in a wide position, which might be a little alien to him, but he's certainly trying to get involved anyway.
Daniel Kanumbe trying to find a seam here. Turns off some pressure from Carl Ouimet. Jeremy Gagnon-Lapare delivers that one into the back post. And Owain Fawn-Williams able to get a touch before Stephen de Santos. Still in possession for Ottawa's Carl Howarth. Tried to chip that one over to de Santos, just a bit ahead of him. And Indy 11 will reset. And Stuart McTaggart joining us here to start the second half. And Stuart, when you look at kind of how everything is transcended here, from supporters culture to the club itself, pro soccer in Ottawa in general, talk about what you've seen kind of evolve over the course of the last 5 years, and did anything kind of jump out to you as to where soccer has gone here in the nation's capital?
I think if you look at the first couple of years, it was there's lots of local players and people who are still trying to make it into their pro career. Now the club is attracting, at least the last couple of years, have been attracting players who are more in their prime. When you look at Eddie Edward, Jamar Dixon, local guys who are at the top level. And then, of course, when we got Julian de Guzman in as a player, it was a huge coup for the team. And then again, you've got Edgar here in central defense playing his first match here, and he's been unreal controlling the match from the back. So it just shows the quality of players we can attract, shows the level that we're aspiring to be at. So
we've the elephant in the room, so to speak, that we don't really talk an awful lot about it is the CPL. It's a situation where, you've had a bunch of teams have been announced. There's one team that hasn't been announced yet that we're all trying to figure out who is. How important do you think, as a supporter, for a team in the nation's capital, whether it's the Fury, whether it's someone else that may or may not come along, to be involved in a Canadian professional league? And we all know the purpose of it is to develop players, is to strengthen our national team so that we're not, getting knocked out, not even, what's a goal?
Off the crossbar. Save. What an effort from Suni Saad. Denied his 5th goal of the season by the crossbar, as he was able to turn the Ottawa defense and beat Maxime Crepeau, but not the woodwork.
I thought Crepeau actually got the slightest of touches on that, Graham. I could be wrong when we see it on the replay, but a terrific opportunity for Indy 11.
Moses looking for Collier in space. Oh, an opportunity wasted by Elliot Collier, who skies it up and over the bar.
Here we see the replay, Graham. A lovely little piece of skill. Yeah, I believe Crepeau got the slightest of touches on that to take it up and over onto the crossbar, but a wake-up call for the Ottawa Fury. Indy 11 have come out, started very, very strong here in the second half. Stuart, getting back to CPL, your thoughts on any involvement for the nation's capital being crucial to the success of that league?
I think it's important if Ottawa, if this league wants to succeed and be across the nation, coast to coast, I think Ottawa should be a part of it because they're a very big part of the Canadian culture right now for soccer. And, I think Fury can survive wherever they're at, but I think supporters would love to be part of the CanPL here. It would be a big part for the culture, a big boost to be able to have something that they can identify with as Canadian.
And you think, obviously, in theory about the whole development process, that it will. I mean, I honestly don't know if we're going to be able to attract the better Canadian players that are playing around the world back to a CPL in the next 2 or 3 years. I just don't see it happening. I think it's more a case of we build on what we've got. You look at, the culture here that Ottawa's building with regards to the project that we keep hearing about. I mean, a massive number of Canadian players involved in the Ottawa Fury. I don't honestly know how that will work. I mean, I'm sure there will have to be some sort of a dispersal draft or something. You can't just allow a team like Ottawa, for example, to come in and be one of the teams and keep all these Canadian players they built. I mean, certainly as an owner of another team, I wouldn't be impressed with that. I would think that it would have to be a case where, okay, yeah, you can protect 5, and everybody else can sign 5, and at that point we then have a draft, whether it's through NCAA, whether it's through U Sports here in Canada, however you want to work it. I really can't see Ottawa being allowed, if they are going into CPL, the advantage of all these Canadian players being already here and signed and ready to go.
I think the biggest advantage is just setting the tone for what Canadian soccer can be for when the CanPL clubs come in and can see that we can build a successful club like we have here on the pitch right now, full of Canadians in the roster. Now, whether Fury can keep the entire roster or not, obviously, as you said, is up for question, but I think the fact that players are getting the chance now, as you mentioned, we might not be getting the Atiba Hutchinsons coming into the CanPL, but the CanPL might allow some of the players you see on the pitch here develop to that level in the future by having a place to ply their trade at a professional level right across the country.
Nice.
Jamar Dixon intercepts in the midfield, plays it over to Jeremy Gagnon-Laparé. Didn't have much of an option. Nice turn there on Seth Moses, gets it over to Kevin Oliveira. Dixon back to Oliveira. Has Howarth in space on the right. The captain cuts into the middle. Howard still going, looking for an option, still in possession. Picks out Gagnon-Laparé. Wide now for Daniel Kanumbe. Gagnon-Laparé. Again back to Kanumbe. Two just go back and forth and now forced back to Anwar Bassi.
Not a lot of options, Graham, inside that 18-yard box, but 3 times both Gagnon-Laparé and Kanumbe wanted to release a ball into the box, and there was only de Santos there as the main target. Everyone else was outside the box. The lads did the right thing, hold on to the ball, maintain possession, and now it's all the way back to Cripple.
Well, and we talked about that a bit in the first half, about giving possession away cheaply for a team that wants to have more possession, and I think so far through now into the 56th minute here, what we've seen to start this second half, much better in possession for Ottawa Fury FC.
So one thing, Stuart, with regards to yourself then, so if you talk more on a personal level, we've discussed obviously your involvement with Fury Fanatic and blogs and online stuff like that, but you're heading off, as Graham said, to Scotland, into Glasgow, and we did say earlier on in our broadcast that I'm slightly jealous that you're going to get an opportunity to get to go to Ibrox and see the revolution that's taking place in Glasgow. What's your thoughts on Rangers with regards to what they're going through? It's been a tough slog the last 4 or 5 years, and now we appear back and hopefully ready to really challenge for trophies and titles over the course of the next few seasons.
Yeah, it's a totally different club than the one that played here at TD Place a couple years ago.
Exactly,
and yeah, the revolution's on. Things are looking good. Obviously, having Steven Gerrard in at the club is huge. You can mirror that here with Julian de Guzman coming into the club and trying to make a change, or someone who's coming right out of playing and straight into management. So lots of parallels there, and it's great to see the way that the club's able to turn themselves around. They've got a lot of passionate fans, and I've got tickets to go see the Europa League match this Thursday, so I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Cut him now. He's done. He's finished. He's done. No, that's great. And if Gerrard does is half as well as the last Liverpool superstar player to come in as our manager, Graham, Stuart, I think we'll do well. And the parallels between Graham Souness and certainly Stevie Gerrard coming in are there for all to see. And as we said, fingers crossed that, you know, because it's all about not only Rangers, you've got to make Scottish football better. And I think the last 4 or 5 years we've suffered. Our European coefficient, as AJ likes to have a good laugh at, has struggled and has gone down quite a bit. So if Rangers are able to have a decent run in the Europa League, hopefully, and if Celtic, who are in there as well, they can join them, that would bump the coefficient up for the country, and fingers crossed everything's all go at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuart, before we let you go, want to thank you for all your contributions to the club over the last number of years, both as a supporter and really leading the charge of that groundswell of support and watching the supporters culture grow here in Ottawa. But also supporting this team in its media coverage, because that's so paramount when you're not an Ottawa Senators or an Ottawa Red Black, where you get easy media attention, and it was truly appreciated. And we wish you and your wife nothing but the best of luck in the new venture, and we look forward to having you return to the Fury family in the years to follow.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this club's been great. They get the sense of family. I've talked to John Pugh today, and I talked to Mark Gowdy, and it's just even you guys, like everyone from top to bottom, from the players right up to the top, have been absolutely nothing but class all through the last couple of years, and everyone's got the same goal, and that's to build professional soccer here in the city, and I think that's definitely what we're all achieving right now.
Thanks very much, Stuart.
Thanks
really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All the best, mate. Good luck.
Steven de Santos wins possession here for Ottawa. Has Carlisle Mitchell to beat, gets it beyond him.
Penalty.
And a penalty given to Steven de Santos after Carlisle Mitchell sets the pick. But de Santos tried to get around him, and this could be a game changer here. And you can tell how important it is to both sides with the protest from the Indy 11 players.
Graham, the referee had a long look at this. I think that's where the error occurred. He's got to make that ball his own. And the minute de Santos, he is, I think, just inside the box, Graham. Yeah, for sure. He took the step inside the box. The ball was not past the defender, and down he went. It was a block. It was a penalty kick. But as I said, the referee took a little while before making the final decision. I'm not sure if he had a quick look with his assistant down that far side, Graham, but either way, it's a penalty kick. De Santos with an opportunity to open the scoring here today. Yeah,
well, he caught Carlisle Mitchell flat-footed, and as soon as he kind of turned his body into Steven de Santos, he forced Yusri Rudolph to point to the spot where Steven de Santos, now front and center for Ottawa Fury, could give them that all-important first goal and the lead here this afternoon in the 60th minute. De Santos off the goalpost.
He's missed it.
And that one will go out for the goal kick. Steven de Santos denied by the woodwork, and as it seems here in the second half, neither side going to get that goal easy. We saw Suni Saad denied by the upright about 10 minutes ago, and now Steven de Santos finds iron, and this game remains at 0-0.
Well, he obviously placed it away from the goalkeeper, Graham, but just that extra 6 inches or so that took it onto the post, and a glorious opportunity for the Fury goes a-begging, and it's still all to play for with 30 minutes left here in the second half.
Ioze cuts inside on Jamar Dixon, foul called. And Carl Howarth now speaks to Yusri Rudolph about the call. He calls Howarth back over to add his words in on the play. 62nd minute now here at TD Place, and it remains 0-0, if only for the goalposts. As mentioned, it was the crossbar that denied Suni Saad an opening goal for Indy, and now just moments ago, goalpost denying Steven de Santos on the penalty kick. And now a set piece coming here for Indy 11.
Well, that could be a huge momentum swing, Graham, and obviously dangerous free kick coming up here.
Ioze delivers this one in, headed away by de Santos. Ioze again. Saad contends with Portilla, and now de Santos clears it back out to the midfield. Seth Moses lays it out wide. Collier delivers that one in, looking for Steinberger. Tried to backheel it, and that will go off David Edgar for an Indy 11 corner, their first of this second half.
It's a good ball into that front post area. Second ball, as I said, just tries to flick it on. Couldn't get it beyond the first defender, but a corner kick. You know, I think that substitution by Tony Taylor, I don't believe it was planned, Graham, because Oliveira didn't look to be ready at all to be coming in, and it looked almost like it was a last-second decision that he couldn't go.
Delivered in, that one headed away by Carl Howarth. Right back near to the corner flag, again delivered in. Crapo caught out of position. Oh, and another squandered opportunity.
There's a call for a handball there. Kanumbe, as he hit it with his left foot, went onto his right arm. You see the ball gets whipped in again. Crapo gets caught under it.
Missed that. Completely hits it, and then yes, Kanumbe, his clearance goes off the arm. And it will go out for a corner, and players still protesting with Yusri Rudolph. Well, that's not going to change anything for Indy 11, who will now have their second straight corner here, but they too now wanting a penalty kick of their own.
Yeah, but getting back to the substitution there, I still think, you know, we're almost 20 minutes, 18, 19 minutes into the second half game here. I think Ottawa's still struggling to get their shape into what they actually want with Kevin Oliveira being on the park. Is he a midfielder? Is he a wide attacker?
Ayoze with the delivery into the near post, headed away by Kanumbe. Now Kevin Oliveira, the lone Fury player, forward. Has Stephen de Santos trying to catch up. Moses wins back possession for Indy. Cuts into the middle. Well won by Christian Portilla. Now to Oliveira. Kanumbe running forward. Hard challenge there by Carlisle Mitchell. Play carries on as Indy back in possession. And that one just out of the reach of Saad, forcing Crapo off his line to clear it away. Stephen de Santos, nifty backheel to keep it in play. Carl Howarth under pressure from Steinberger, goes back to Thomas Mayer-Giguère. Maxime Crapo inside his own penalty area. As the intensity goes up a notch here for both these two sides, Oliveira brings this one down, and he earns a foul against Carlisle Mitchell, who comes up limping.
Oh, just a chance for everybody to catch their breath. Even up here, it's been a fairly decent period of 5 minutes there, from the shot that came off the crossbar for Indy to the penalty miss for de Santos to a couple of really dangerous corner kicks whipped in on the near side there. It's just been go here in these last 5-6 minutes, but a chance now for everybody just to settle down. And again, we're just trying to have a quick look here to see how Ottawa's setting up. Oliveira seems to be dropping back into midfield, Graham. We know we started off in that 3-5-2 formation. We still see Carroll, we still see Kanumbe out as almost wing backs right now. It's how things are shaping up in central midfield, whether we've got 3 or whether we've got 4. Is Oliveira being asked to play in the hole just behind de Santos, or is he supposed to be playing up as 2 up front? It'd be good to see how that finishes out.
All right, let's head down pitch side for an update from Tyler McDonald. Tyler?
Thank you very much, Graham. And Brad Ring getting some work done on his right calf, as well as after he made a move, kind of went up limping there as well. So watch out for his right calf injury throughout the game. A couple of notes here for Ottawa FC. Really noticing Thomas Mayer-Giguère be the most vocal he's been throughout this whole season, and it's something that you notice down here pitch side. And I wonder if it has to do with having the veteran presence of David Edgar beside him. Edgar's been very vocal, maybe giving Mayer-Giguère a little more confidence to direct traffic himself, and really liking what I'm seeing out of Thomas Mayer-Giguère. For Indy 11, really looking to see for them trying to keep their shape and be smarter with their tackles. We saw them give away already 1 penalty. Assistant coach Phil de Santos was making sure his back line knew, smart with your tackles, be aware of where you are on the field, and make sure we don't give up another one. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Tyler. And, you know, Thomas Mayer-Giguère credits so much of the opportunity that he got in his development when Daniil Henry came here on loan from the Vancouver Whitecaps. And, of course, the loan, he was returned back to Vancouver, as then Adakora came back into health after, you know, dealing with that offseason ankle injury. And really, we've just seen Mayer-Giguère's game blossom each and every night. And, well, whether it's Adakora in there or another veteran like David Edgar, it's great to see a young Canadian defender like Mayer-Giguère get to play with such experienced center backs and see his game really grow.
Well, I'm sure Mayer-Giguère is communicating and talking a lot more, because when he looks at certain times and he looks to his right, there is no one on his right-hand side. Normally he looks there and Eddie Edwards standing 10, 15 yards away. He knows that cover is there for the attack coming down the left-hand side for the opposition. He's talking to Carroll all the time. He's making sure Carroll is getting back into a defensive spot to help out. He's up against the number 7 here, Iose, down the left-hand side for Indy 11. So I'm sure that's what the communication is with Thomas Meyer-Giguère. He's talking to Carroll all the time. The two of them are making sure they know where each other is, where the cover's coming from, and that's probably why Tyler down on field is hearing an awful lot more from the young Canadian.
Well, and hopefully post-game when Tyler speaks with head coach Nikola Popovic in the post-match press conference in our Facebook Live post-match show, we can determine, you know, what went on with Tony Taylor with that forced halftime substitution, and really what the decision was that brought on the change we see here today, the 3-5-2 setup as Indy pressures here, intercepted by Ottawa, and now Kanumbe.
Well, that was a crucial tackle by Obasi. It looked like Edgar had got sucked out to the right, made the commitment, didn't get to the ball, but it was Obasi with a last gasp challenge there, Graham, in the box. A wonderful tackle. It's not something that I think Obasi's looking to do all the time, is go to ground and make a tackle inside the 18-yard box, but timed that to perfection. It's a wonderful stop.
Meyer-Giguère to Carl Howarth. Oliveira back to Howarth. Again to Meyer-Giguère as Ottawa try to move it around here, maintaining possession. And much like Ottawa did to Indy, especially in the back half of that opening 45 minutes, Indy really trying to gum up that central midfield, where I think Ottawa did a much better job in the first half of controlling than Indy did. Just having a look at our possession stats here in the second half. Ottawa now at 47% possession in the second half to 53 from Indy. So Indy's still winning the possession battle overall at 65-35.
But that's better from the second half. And as you said, you're up into the mid to high 40s now, Graham. You're holding on to the ball a little bit better. We talked on Wednesday about not holding possession in key areas of the park, obviously being central midfield and up front. A lot of time it's one and done. The ball gets knocked up long and it comes right back to you because you've given away the possession. But we're trying to do a little bit better here of holding on to the ball here in the second half, and fingers crossed that it does lead to a goal going forward.
70th minute here at TD Place. Score remains 0-0 between Ottawa Fury FC and Indy 11. Get an inside look at life on and off the field from a player's perspective every Wednesday evening in the latest edition of From the Pitch on USLsoccer.com.
Oh, just take a quick look down the bench. We talked earlier on about players like Ben Spies and Jack I just wonder if a player like McInerney might be getting brought on, Graham, inside these final 20 minutes. A player that knows the road to goal. He's a handful in and around the 18-yard box, and I just wonder if that's something that Coach Rennie will make a decision on fairly quickly. That the subs don't look as if they're really putting an awful lot of work behind that Ottawa goal. So maybe Rennie's just going to see things out with the players that he's got on the park. Collier certainly.
Well, and
I wouldn't say it was a sittery miss, Graham, but from 8 yards out with pretty much no one in front of the goal, you've got to put that ball in the back of the net.
Well, he's missed twice now in that second half. That one that he punted well over the bar, and then the one where, Crepo uncharacteristically a little bit out of position on that second delivery, and he completely mishit it. That again led to that shout for a handball on Kanumbe.
Yeah.
But really, I think for Martin Rennie's side right now, look, it's 0-0, 72nd minute. You don't need to disrupt anything at this point. If you want to, give it another 8-9 minutes in that last 10, make the push at that time, force the pressure on the opposition. But for right now, they're quite content, I think, with where this game currently stands, as Owain Fawn Williams forced off his line to suffocate that ball before Phil de Santos could get there, and after a battle with Carlisle Mitchell. And that's been certainly a fun battle to watch here this afternoon that led to that de Santos penalty. And just to prove you wrong, it looks like they are going to go to the subs bench as Ben Spies is kitted out and looks ready to come into this match, getting some last-minute directions here from the coaching staff. And it also looks like Matt Watson is getting ready to come into this game as well. Rainier Ferreira winning possession back for Indy 11. Ioze, the assist leader for Indy, surveys his option, forced back to Ferreira. Those two players now teammates, but contended against each other for the Soccer Bowl last season.
Yes.
Carl Howarth cuts inside. Howarth still going. Gets round Ferreira, finds Gagnon Lapare, returns it to Howarth. Gagnon Lapare, Christian Portilla. Meyer Giguère to the right side for Kevin Oliveira. To Dixon, again to Meyer Giguère, who switches it over to Obasi on the left. Under pressure from Seth Moses, forced all the way back inside his own half. Crapo goes wide looking for Kanumbe. Obasi. Obasi still going as he finds a seam, looks for Portilla. In for Kanumbe,
offside.
but the offside flag was up. And that should bring 3 substitutes coming here.
Yeah, we're being told that it's Chris Manella coming on for Jamar Dixon, number 22 for the Ottawa Fury. We have number 8 Matt Watson coming in, number 16 Juan Guerra going out, and number 10 Ben Spies coming in, taking Zach Steinberger's spot. So 3 changes coming in on the 74th minute. As I wouldn't say it's been a really warm afternoon, Graham, here. It's cloudy, it's been overcast, it's been a bit windy, so I'm sure playing conditions aren't something that's coming into play with regards to, you know, players getting a little bit tired. But you've now made 2 changes for Ottawa. You've now made 2 changes for Indy 11, and you know, you still have a player like Adonijah Reid sitting on the bench for the Ottawa Fury. You've got Haber as well with a chance to possibly come on and create something up front, but you're sticking with this 3-5-2. You're getting Kanumbe, you're getting Howard back as wing backs, doing good work up and down both flanks, and now you're really asking Oliveira and de Santos to win the game for you in the attacking third. If you can find some space and get a decent ball from some of the lads in the middle of the park, you may walk out of here with all 3 points yourself this afternoon.
Portilla finds Manella, who gets his first touch of the match. Daniel Haber getting ready, and he would be Nikola Popovic's 3rd and final substitution of the afternoon, as Ono Obasi in possession now for Ottawa.
You would expect him to take one of the 2 striking roles, and you've already got Oliveira on as a sub, so the natural one you would think would be de Santos. However, you could also take off a Gagnon Lapere and possibly bring in Oliveira back into central midfield and go with de Santos and Haber up front. So lots of options in this 3-5-2 with the personnel that he's got. You've got to see this game out, though. You've got 1 point so far. Can you make it 3?
Elliot Collier bodies his way through. Oh, at the goalpost. Another opportunity for Suni Sa, denied by the upright, as he just can't buy a goal here this afternoon after some great work by Elliot Collier.
Well, he did everything right, Graham. He played the ball into his path, and when he opened up his body to curl it into the bottom right-hand corner off the post, and unfortunately for him, it ends up coming back into play. Oh dear. Well, it's been a really exciting game here this afternoon.
Well, and hearing that it'll be Daniel Kanumbe who'll be coming off in place of Daniel Haber when that substitute does take place.
Yeah, that will be really interesting, because I don't know what Haber's history is with regards to, you know, I think he's been more of an attacking player over his career, but he will be asked now to play in that wing-back position and get up and down that left flank for the Ottawa Fury.
Well, we could see a formational shift as well, pushing dropping Oliveira more back into that midfield role alongside Manila and Portilla, pushing Haber up to his natural attacking role. Gagnon, Laparade dropping maybe into more of a defensive position.
Push him out maybe wide on the left and
just
drop
kind of going
Oliveira
back to that
into the middle.
standard 4-3-3 that we've seen Ottawa play most of this season.
Yeah, I think he'd probably still want to keep the integrity, Graham, of the back three.
Here's De Santos now in space, one man to beat. De Santos still going, tries to play it back for Gagnon Laparade, but he was running in the opposite direction, and now Indy look to counter. Matt Watson, closed down by Chris Manella, finds the captain Brad Ring at midfield. Collier, great challenge there by Thomas Meyer-Giguère, who wins a battle where he loses in size but won in intelligence there. Oliveira, completely mishit that one there, trying to find Steven De Santos.
De Santos has put so much effort into this game, Graham. He's doubling over every time he gets a chance to get a breather, and you're going to make the third sub, and from what we're being told it is Kanumbe, but De Santos has just worked his socks off here this afternoon. Disappointment, obviously, missing the penalty kick, Graham, that possibly could have made the destination of the 3 points right here in the nation's capital, but he's really worked hard, and I'd almost look at making sure the big lad gets a rest as well, but when you're making that substitution,
right, but you run the risk in a game that's as tight as it is right now, that big, the physical presence, the target that you would have up there, whether it remains at 0-0, whether you go ahead, even if you go down, I'm not sure if that's a move, despite the fatigue that you might be seeing from him at this stage of the match. Gagnon Laparade in possession, back to Christian Portilla. Portilla over the top, looking for Kanumbe, has Carlisle Mitchell to beat. Well defended there. And Indy will reset inside their own half. Seth Moses now surveys his option, has some room to run. Watson back to Brad Ring. Ferreira, Ioze, Collier, Watson, Rainier Ferreira.
And I think Popovich has got his tactics spot on here this afternoon, Graham. You look at a situation where you don't come up against a lot of teams that play with 4 midfielders. This sort of diamond that you've got in the middle for Indy 11, usually you're coming up against a team that plays with 3 midfielders. And it's a situation where he's identified he had to make sure that they controlled midfield a little better than maybe they did on Wednesday night. And I think they've been fairly comfortable here in the second half especially.
As the substitute for Daniel Haber takes place, coming in for Daniel Kanumbe. We'll head down pitch side and hear from Tyler McDonald. Tyler?
Thanks, Graham, and some notes coming from Nikola Popovich to Daniel Haber before he goes on. He's taking the place of Kanumbe down in that wing back situation and making sure that Haber understands straight line up and down, and he reminded him he's really going to have to work to get back once he's up, and don't get too complacent in staying up top there, looking for the attack, and make sure you come back and help out your defense as well. McInerney is going to be coming on for Indy 11 as well in just a moment here, as he looks like he'll be looking to make an attack here in the last 10 minutes for Indy 11.
Thanks very much, Tyler, and that's some great analysis as we get an understanding that, the formation not going to change here, and just a like-for-like substitution. Daniel Kanumbe out, Daniel Haber in, and now Elliot Collier out for Indy 11, who I thought for his second game in Indy 11 colors, great performance here this afternoon. Missed a couple of good opportunities, but certainly put himself about in a physical specimen at, 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, and just getting back to that substitution, obviously the notes we had there from Tyler, exactly what we talked about with Haber being asked to be doing a role that's possibly unfamiliar to him, and having to get more involved on the defensive side of the game instead of worrying just about, as Tyler mentioned, when you're playing as a wide player in an attacking 3, there is that tendency just to stay up instead of working back, and Haber obviously will have to do an awful lot of that here inside these final 8.5 minutes.
Well, Yusri Rudolph getting an earful there from Martin Rennie after that last sequence. Obasi to Haber. Nice ball over the top to De Santos. I don't know.
That was tight.
That was a close one. Well brought down off the chest of Steven de Santos as he looked, at least from our vantage point, level with Rainier Ferreira when that ball was played.
Oh, he's well onside.
My goodness, he's missed
right,
that one.
the right back right there, you can tell with the football lines, the right back's right foot is playing them onside. Certainly when the ball arrives there, de Santos is half a yard offside, but he certainly was onside when the ball was played. So I think the fact that his first touch got away from him, we really can't say that it was a glorious opportunity missed for the Fury because of the official call, but either way, de Santos getting a good position up front.
Steven de Santos chases this one down. Brad Ring heads it back to Owain Fawn Williams, the Welshman, who's come up with a couple of big saves here this afternoon, also bailed out by the goalpost on that Steven de Santos penalty. Mitchell. Brad Ring, who has really bossed everything going forward for Indy 11 here this afternoon. Ioze, the assist leader. Back to Ferreira. His pass went awry as he tried to pick out McInerney. Ring again plays it back to...
You're right, Ring has been one of the better, if not one of the best Indianapolis players, and certainly we get a chance to pick a player of the game for the Ottawa Fury, but you look at a player like David Edgar, he's come in here, obviously he's had a week or so to get acclimatised with playing with his teammates, getting some chemistry. The decision by Coach Popovich to go with a back three instead of a standard back four was a bit of a surprise. I think it's been a good decision. I think it's a good tactic that's worked here this afternoon. But it's all down to David Edgar and his experience, his ability to manage a back three, his ability to manage a back line, Graham, communicate with the players alongside him. It's been wonderful to see, and he's looked lively, he's looked involved, and I think he's going to be an absolutely wonderful addition here to the Ottawa Fury, the tail end of the season.
Ring to Ferreira, has Ioze to his left and finds him. Plays that one in for McInerney. Good first touch, but well defended by Mayer Giguère, who outlets to Carl Howarth. Tries to go through the middle. That one in behind Kevin Oliveira. Ioze takes over. Pressure coming. Now Ben Spies. Spies turns away from pressure. Out to the left side. Finds Ioze. Intercepted by Carl Howarth as he tried to return it, and he's taken out by Ioze, and he remains down. Challenge there from Ring into touch for a throw in front of the Ottawa bench, and now Jussi Rudolph going to bring that back to give Ioze the yellow card after that challenge on Carl Howard.
Well, I think Coach Popovich is upset because de Santos was going to take a quick throw and Oliveira had broken down the right flank here and he would have been in, and unfortunately for the Ottawa Fury, because of the yellow card, the play got... Ever see de Santos quickly going to get the ball, and then right there we see Popovich upset that the quick throw in hasn't been allowed to take place, and it brought the Ottawa Fury back because of Ring being injured. But you know, I mean, the fact that it was a yellow card as well, does the referee have to stop play? He could always have pulled the play back later on and given the yellow card to Ioze at that point, but you can certainly see why the frustrated bench not being allowed to take that quick throw in and possibly put Indy under pressure.
5,000 plus the announced attendance here at TD Place this afternoon. 86th minute, we remain 0-0 in an entertaining battle between Ottawa Fury FC and Indy 11. So much on the line for both sides here this afternoon. And we'll see if anyone can step up to play hero in the late minutes. Howarth's long throw, that one headed away by Brad Ring. Hard challenge there by Gagnon Laparé, and now Portilla heads it down for Carl Howarth. Back into the midfield, Gagnon Laparé goes up against Moses. Manella brings it down out of the reach of Kevin Oliveira as Moses, with a good few touches, wins back possession for Indy. We met down that right side. They find an option in here through Moses, marked closely by Haber. Back to Ouimet. Moses again. All sorts of pressure from Gagnon Laparé and Haber. Moses still going, and he runs out of real estate. That one out for a goal kick.
Terrific defensive work there by Gagnon, Perret and Hebert to make sure that they got involved and that nothing was going to be brought into the box. Well, there's certainly been a few players out there that are deserving of the man of the match, and when you look at the job the back three have done, you know, depending on how the game finishes out, I think, you know, you could have a couple of those lads in there, Graham, involved. I think de Santos has been terrific up front as well. You know, yes, the penalty miss, but he's led the line so well in an unfamiliar role, playing with two, and unfortunately, you know, unable to put the ball in the back of the net from the penalty. But I think he's been terrific all afternoon, running up and down the park, side to side, north to south, east to west, Graham. But the lads at the back have certainly done a terrific job of keeping this, you know, potent Indy 11 team off the score sheet so far with 3 minutes left to go.
A reminder that you can stay up to date with all of the best from social media around the USL by watching Off the Post with Kelsey Steele every Friday evening on the USL social media channels. And now 89th minute here at TD Place. As we mentioned earlier, it's going to be scoreboard watching time for both these teams this evening, with potential changes in the standings. Really 2 through 12 we could see movement here this evening, Gord.
Yes.
Christian Portilla tries to win that battle against Suni Saad, does. Foul called against Saad.
Well, if things stay the way they are right now, Graham, at 0-0, and it's entirely looking that way, the Fury will jump up into 7th place. They will have 35 points, the same as New York Red Bulls. However, they have 10 wins against New York's 9, and they will vault above them into 7th place. Indy 11 will stay at 6th, just behind Bethlehem Steel. Both of those teams on 36 points. So it will be very interesting. As you mentioned, Nashville playing Louisville, Charleston, Cincinnati. A couple of really big games that will affect the standings come tomorrow morning in the Eastern Conference of the USL.
Edgar forced back to Maxime Crépeau. So two go back and forth. Crépeau whips it out to the far side. Daniel Haber, good job to track back to keep that one in play for Ottawa. Outlets to Gagnon Laparé. Now to Kevin Oliveira. Under control on the second touch. Now forced back to Ottawa Obasi. McInerney pressures Edgar. Crépeau skies that one through the midfield, and hearing that we will have 4 minutes of additional time here to close out this match, as foul called as Kevin Oliveira was brought to the ground.
Well, just wonder, Graham, both teams have made all 3 substitutions. Are we going to have a match winner here with 4 minutes left to go? Oliveira certainly wanted to take the ball quickly, not being allowed to do so. It was kicked away all the way down to the Indy 11 keeper.
However this goes in the remaining weeks of this season, somehow I want these two sides to kind of finish 4-5. Ideally with Ottawa in 4, so we get the game here at TD Place. I want this in the first round, because the level of intensity that we've seen from both sides here tonight, if you think back to that 1-0 Ottawa win back on the 4th of July at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, you could see the intensity in that game too, and it's kind of reaching its boiling point here this afternoon, and what has been, you know what, as far as 0-0 games go, as entertaining as you could ask for.
Well, I think when both teams are as committed to winning as these two teams have demonstrated this afternoon, it's always a pleasure to watch a game of football. And I think that's what the USL brings. You know, the parity that we're seeing in the Eastern Conference out with of the top 3 teams. Any team can beat any other team on any given Saturday or Sunday.
Portilla's delivery headed away, falls to Carl Howarth. Howarth delivers that one in, a header! And that one will go out for an Ottawa corner, as Carlisle Mitchell had his teammates gasping there.
Could have gone anywhere, that, eh? It's a good ball whipped in by Carl. There was 3 players at the back area looking to get on the end of it. And I think fairly clearly it was well away from goal, but when it comes off a defender's head like that, Graham, it could end up anywhere. And here we see Portilla now taking the left in-swinger. 4 or 5 red and black shirts make their way to the front post area. No one at the back post area. Thomas Meyer-Jager now deciding I'm going to join that rush at the edge of the box. Well, again, a little bit of barging and pushing there. The referee's just warning them that they're going to blow it down if it's a free kick going the other way against the Fury.
We are now into the 3rd minute of the 4 minutes of allotted additional time here this afternoon. Everyone crowding that near post. Christian Portilla set to take the delivery for Ottawa. Whips it in. Headed away. Suni Saad gets it further away. Chris Manella skies that one to try and buy his teammates some time. De Santos on the header. Finds Carl Howard. Howard trying to find a seam. Here's Oliveira. Oliveira stopped by Fawn Williams and out for another Ottawa corner.
Oh, some late drama here by the Fury as they just tried to up the tempo inside injury time. A nice little ball played out to Oliveira. He strikes it well. Goalkeeper though, a good strong pair of hands. Gets it palmed out though for a corner kick. Danger still not over for the Indy 11.
Christian Portilla, does he have some heroics in that left boot of his? Everyone again crowding that near post. Portilla's delivery goes to the back post. Howard looking for the header, but Fawn Williams climbs the ladder and collects that cross. Now into the 4th minute of additional time here this afternoon. We remain locked at 0-0, but these last 10 minutes have been filled with opportunity for either side. Foul called back in the midfield, so Indy 11 will maintain possession here in the waning moments of this match.
One final push, and I'm just wondering if every player over 6 foot will be asked to get into the box. This probably will be the final play of the match, Graham, and it's all about just getting bodies committed forward now in a white shirt. Get as many as you can in the 18-yard box.
Well, and I think Indy trying to stall it long enough so that they make sure that whatever happens here, it is the final play of the match. Delivered into the penalty area. Headed away by David Edgar, falls to the feet of Ben Spies, and that draws the whistle to conclude quite the affair here this afternoon between Ottawa Fury FC and Indy 11. No shortage of drama from either side. Don't see any changes in the standings really, but
I thought it was a terrific
I think that's
game
irrelevant
there.
at this point in time.
I really do. I think both teams were absolutely going for it, and unfortunately for both teams, neither comes out with the 3 points. 1 point apiece. Final score 0-0.
We'll be back to wrap things up. An exciting, entertaining 90 minutes between Ottawa Fury FC and Indy 11. Ends 0-0 here at TD Place. Back with more after this. This is Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
Gabriel Pizza, proud supporter of local sports. Gabriel Pizza, home of the bigger, better pizza. 310-7777 or GabrielPizza.com.
Did you know the Brick is 100% proudly Canadian? We employ over 5,000 Canadians, and nobody knows more about furnishing Canadian homes at the guaranteed lowest price than us. Saving you more. It's not just a slogan. Saving you more is our obsession.
What do you live for? Is it for your crew? For overcoming obstacles? Live for what you want. So what do you live for?
Welcome back inside TD Place. 0-0 the final here this afternoon in an entertaining battle between USL, well, longtime rivals, we'll call them that, Ottawa Fury FC and Indy 11. Gord, your thoughts on what we witnessed here through 90 minutes?
Well, we were surprised with the setup that Ottawa came out with, the 3-5-2. You know, how would it work? You know, we've got a new lad coming in Edgar. You've got Obasi, a natural left back, coming in to play in the central role. I think Coach Popovich got it spot on. I think he was right. He had the right formation. He had the right players out there. I would like to know what happened to Tony Taylor at halftime. Did he pick something up? Was he just not feeling well at halftime when he came off? And that forced you into that substitution that I think at some point Oliveira would have come on this afternoon. Doesn't matter. It was a thoroughly enjoyable watch here today. 0-0, a point each. As we said during the broadcast, doesn't really help either team in that push up the table to try and get into a top 4 spot. But I think both of these teams have showed that they've got the talent, they've got the quality to be there or about when the top 8 spots are determined at the end of the season.
Well, we'll break down the match a little bit more in our Facebook Live post-match show on the Ottawa Fury FC Facebook page. We'll also hear from Fury FC manager Nikola Popovich, hear from David Edgar, Thomas Mayer-Giguère, and hopefully get an answer on Tony Taylor, formation change, and maybe what we are going to see when they go Wednesday to Bethlehem. Are we going to see this formation again, or what the setup's going to be? So many different players based on the performance that we saw from Ottawa Fury FC this afternoon. Could have been touted with our Ottawa Citizen man of the match, but in a 0-0 game, as exciting as it was, the game that we saw from Phil de Santos was fantastic, but you have to give credit to the guys who were battling defensively for Ottawa. I thought David Edgar had a sublime debut for Ottawa Fury FC, but you got to give it to the guy, the youngest guy in that back line, but boy did he have a heck of a game this afternoon in Thomas Mayer-Giguère.
You know, this young lad has come on leaps and bounds since the start of the season. We think back to that early afternoon game, I believe it was against the New York Red Bulls game that we were doing the game, and Obasi gets injured. And Mayer-Giguère comes in and plays left back, and he just continues on. And from that moment on, the confidence in this young man has just grown in leaps and bounds. And it's so nice to see a young Canadian player coming in, being given his head at this level, and my goodness, he's taken the opportunity with both hands.
Well, and he certainly gave opportunity to Ottawa Fury FC to pick up a vital point here this afternoon as we have a look at what's now to come for Ottawa Fury FC as they return to action. It's going to be a busy finish to the month of August. They go to Bethlehem on Wednesday, a 5 p.m. kickoff at Goodman Stadium before they return right back here to TD Place a week from today. It'll be a 7 o'clock kickoff against Penn FC. And again, another massive 3 points up for grabs for Ottawa before they really get into that run of 5 straight away from home that take them from the latter part of August into the latter part of September.
And keep in mind those last 5 games we've talked about, the coaches mentioned a lot. You've got Charleston and Louisville in there, and they're tough teams to beat. Louisville's on the road. I believe Charleston is actually here, so you've got a little bit of an upper foot with regards to that. But the games just keep coming, and as we said, the 6 point today was a 6-pointer. It turned out to be a 1-pointer. It was 1 point apiece. You've got Penn F, you know, Bethlehem, Penn coming up. I mean, teams that are behind you, teams that are ahead of you. Who knows where this thing is going to be come the middle of October, and the final game, the final ball is kicked before we head into the playoffs in the USL Eastern Conference.
Well, and that's the beauty of the parity in the Eastern Conference, and we'll talk about how that playoff picture is shaping up more in our Ottawa Fury FC Facebook Live post-match show. Head over to Ottawa Fury FC Facebook page. We'll join you there in moments. Both myself and Gordon Smith will hear from Nikola Popovich, our man of the match Thomas Mayer-Giguère, and Canadian international David Edgar, who made a fantastic debut here today for Ottawa Fury FC. Again, the final score here from TD Place this afternoon, Ottawa Fury FC 0, Indy 11 0 for Gordon Smith, Tyler McDonald, our producer Mike Sutherland, the rest of the crew. I'm Graham Ivory. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.